With a great honor, I accept to become the Nobel Fest Ambassador for Innovation and invite you to join the Nobel Fest.
Стань частью мира знаний и инноваций. Мы ждем тебя на пятом Нобелевском фестивале.
Добрый день, уважаемые дамы и господа. Меня зовут Анжела Горикова, и я безумно рада приветствовать вас здесь сегодня в самом эпицентре знаний и глобальных дискуссий. Welcome to Nobel Fest! Добро пожаловать на пятый Нобелевский фестиваль, крупнейший международный праздник образования, науки и технологий. В этом году Нобелевскую премию по медицине получил Сванте Паабо за труды по эволюции человека. Мы сегодня на пятом Нобелевском фестивале будем говорить уже об эволюции технологий. Меняется мир, меняется глобальная политика, экономика, но в то же время происходит стремительный рост инноваций. За 3 дня, с 26 по 28 октября, мы будем говорить с вами на самые важные темы о сохранении мира, об экономике, искусственном интеллекте, роботах, науке и зеленых технологиях. Но на этом фестиваль не закончится. Наверняка вы знаете, что с 31 октября по 4 ноября вас ждет удивительный мир науки на неделе Нобелевских лекций, где лауреаты Нобелевской премии и обладатели Нобелевского научного Оскара расскажут вам о самых передовых научных открытиях. Ну и так, самое главное событие сегодняшнего дня у нас. Мы находимся в международной лайв-трансляции. Вы, дорогие участники, можете воспользоваться наушниками. Если вы нашли, вы должны их найти здесь и воспользоваться ими, настроив подходящую для себя дорожку перевода. Актуальную программу вы можете посмотреть на нашем веб-сайте или просканировав QR-код, который сейчас находится на экране. Ну, а я, как ведущая мероприятия, перехожу на английский язык. The festival takes place simultaneously from Nobel Fest Studios in Kazakhstan, Azerbaijan, Pakistan, Uganda, Bangladesh and Uzbekistan. Translation is available in Kazakh, Russian, Uzbek and English languages. Online members, it's even easier for you. You just choose the language you want and enjoy our broadcast. Dear viewers, now get ready for the teleconference where our friends from Tashkent are waiting for us. Nilufar, greetings from Kazakhstan.
Hello, Angela. A very warm welcome and greetings from the studio of the Palace of Youth Creativity, which is located in the heart of Central Asia, Tashkent City. Our country, Uzbekistan, is very happy and excited to co-host the 5th Nobel Fest dedicated to tech evolution. Tashkent studio, let's greet Kazakhstan, Azerbaijan, Pakistan, Bangladesh, Uganda, and those who join us online with loud applause. Thank you very much, and I hope that the atmosphere of cheer and joy will not leave you till the end of our event. And actually, for us, the celebration of science has started yesterday. Our students, teachers, pupils, and government officials were obsessed by meaningful discussions on the topics of climate change by Nobel Prize winner Mr. Rai Kwon-chung and inspired to dream high by two beautiful sisters, Global Teacher Prize winner Keisha Thorpe and founder, Chief Executive Officer and President of US Elite International Track and Field, Tricia Thorpe. And that is only in one day. I can imagine the extent of inspiration after we will listen to the speakers of Nobel Fest. Angela, over to you.
Thank you, Nilufar. Thanks for your introduction. So today from Astana, we're going to have the following speaker in the program of the session. So first of all, Sayasat Nurbek. This is the Minister of Science and Education, Higher Education of the Republic of Kazakhstan. Thank you. And also Professor Dr. Muhammad Iqbal Chaudhry. This is the General Coordinator of COMSTECH, Organization
мечта. Мечта простая, но очень важная. Наверное, у каждого из нас был или есть такой друг детства, у которого что-то не получилось в жизни. И потому что он не был усерден,
Спасибо, Максат, за такое трогательное выступление. Спасибо за такое видение. Благодаря Максату сегодня мы можем находиться здесь и наслаждаться доступом к этим величайшим знаниям. So I have to go in English now. Our opening is dedicated to the topic building an educated nations as a Nobel Peace Prize laureate and one of the past Nobel Fest participants, Kailash Satyarthi, said, "Education is the liberator. Education is the equalizer. Education is a gateway to justice, equality, peace, and sustainability." Ladies and gentlemen, let me start the opening of the Nobel Fest with these beautiful words and about the word to Nilüfer.
Angela, thank you very much. We also have an exciting program, and our speakers in the opening ceremony from Tashkent will be Nobel Peace Prize laureate of 2007, board director of the Ban Ki-moon Foundation, Ran Kwon-chung, and honorary partner of the 5th Nobel Fest in Uzbekistan, director of the Agency for Youth Affairs of Uzbekistan, Alisher Sadolayev, and strategic corporate partner of the Nobel Fest Public Affairs, Communications, and Sustainability Vice President of the Coca-Cola Company for Eurasia and Middle East, Sinan Jem Shahin. Dear honorary guests, let me invite to the stage a person who made a valuable contribution to the climate change mitigation agenda, Professor Rai Kwon-chung, 2007 Nobel Peace Prize laureate, director of the board of the Ban Ki-moon Foundation, to officially open the 5th Nobel Fest.
Do you hear me? Okay, good afternoon. I'm very excited to join the Nobel Fest. Nobel Fest has been providing a very interesting, exciting opportunity for the young generation and the policymakers in Central Asia. And today especially, I congratulate Nobel Fest that the Tashkent and Astana is joining together and coming up with the teamwork and partnership to come up with even more rich presentations of many interesting speakers. Today, as the topic is the education, and education is, of course, one of the most important our knowledge for the future. But here, I would like to emphasize that we are facing many kind of new problems and issues. And the problem here is that we cannot solve the current problems with the older thinking. We have to come up with a new thinking to solve the problems that we are facing now. And I'm sure this Nobel Fest will provide a very good opportunity for all those listeners and participants to learn about the new way of thinking to solve the political, social, and ecological crisis we are facing. I have been working to solve the problem of climate change issues, and I have been promoting new ideas and new thinking for green economic growth, the green growth, to replace grow first and clean out later paradigm. And I'm sure Kazakhstan and Uzbekistan is at the crossroad to make a very critical choice, which future path you are going to choose. So I hope this Nobel Fest can provide a very important opportunity and knowledge to help and to assist young generation and policymakers in this region to make a right choice. Thank you very much, and once again, my big congratulations for a very successful Nobel Fest. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mr. Rai Kwang Chung. It's a great privilege for us to host you in our country, and as we know, you had a chance to visit our ancient city Samarkand, which is called as the Pearl of Great Silk Road, and as we know, you enjoyed it. And now let me give the floor to my colleague from Kazakhstan, Angela. Now it's your turn. We are listening to you very attentively.
Thank you, Nilüfer. Ladies and gentlemen, it was Professor Chang, and we should give him a big applause. Let's do this. Thank you. Dear friends, tomorrow Professor Chang will be in Astana for the Nobel Fest. So let me give the floor to our dear Minister of Science and Higher Education, Sayasat Nurbiek, who actively supports the Nobel Fest Science and Education in Kazakhstan. Dear Minister, we are waiting for you. Господин министр, мы рады приветствовать вас. Добрый день.
Қайырлы күн, құрметті достар, құрметті әріптестер. Біріншіден, кеше ғана біз тойлап өткен біздің республика күнімізбен тағы да сіздерді құттықтағым келеді. Еще раз от всего сердца поздравляю вас с Днем Республики, нашим новым Днем независимости, которому заслуженно наш президент вернул статус национального праздника. Еще раз всех поздравляю. У Масада есть мечта. Мечта дать возможность огромному количеству молодых людей, и не только молодых, доступа к качественным, самым лучшим знаниям. Когда мы познакомились с Масадом много лет назад, когда он работал в Столичный экономический форум, помогал организации, приглашал гостей, приглашал спикеров, топовых, он рассказал мне про эту мечту, что надо же, приезжает огромное количество топовых, самых лучших выступающих, профессоров, экономистов, экспертов. Но видит и слышит только маленькая часть наших выпускников. Почему мы не можем, чтобы эти дискуссии, эти идеи, эти новые концепции слышало и видело большее количество нашего населения, в особенности наши молодые люди, наши студенты, наши молодые исследователи, профессора, учителя, простые граждане. И я поддержал лично, как мог, когда я был простым в частном секторе работающим экспертом Максата и активно участвовал во всех 4 Нобель-фестах до сегодняшнего event, как спикер, молодое министерство. Нам почти что 4 месяца. Поэтому такими маленькими первыми шажками мы начинаем выстраивать новое министерство, новые фактические отрасли. И позвольте сегодня очень коротко рассказать вам, что мы делаем, какие задачи сейчас стоят перед нашим министерством, какие новые направления, какие проблемы с вашей, в том числе, помощью нам предстоит вместе решать. Я бы попросил организаторов включить несколько слайдов, которые я подготовил, чтобы где-то визуально на голове у вас отложились какие-то ключевые факты, ключевые данные, статистики, которые у нас сейчас есть. В целом все не так плохо, уважаемые друзья. Мы любим посыпать снегом пеплу, мы любим критиковать образование. Практически 99% нашего населения – это эксперты, очень серьезные, глубокие в сфере образования. И все время говорят, что все плохо. Есть системные проблемы, мы должны признавать. Я первый свои шаги как министр начал с признания этих проблем. Я сейчас езжу по всем министерствам, по всем, извиняюсь, вузам, научно-исследовательским институтам, захожу в чердаки, в подвал, в который никогда раз не заходил. Недавно в Алматы, в институте генетики, залез прямо в подвал, нашедший его рано, смотрит, кто? Министр. Точно, точно. Что первый раз в жизни вижу. Я говорю, молодец, работаем. Вот. Кстати, тут тоже не работает, можно прямо из института проходить дальше. С точки зрения качества человеческого капитала мы неплохо, на самом деле, находимся в достаточно на неплохом месте, если брать по различным индексам, в первую очередь индекс человеческого капитала на 51 месте из 185 стран. И есть несколько хороших показателей, которые вытягивают нас все время наверх. И один из них – это доступ к образованию в целом. Мы предоставляем очень беспрецедентный, сильный, широкий охват нашего населения и среднего образования, в том числе и высшего, и среднеспециального образования. И только этот один показатель нас тащит очень сильно наверх, на самом деле, потому что страна большая, ресурсов пока, слава богу, хватает, население такое большое, и представьте себе те страны, которые испытывают огромное демографическое давление, чтобы хотя бы просто базовый доступ обеспечить. В наших рейтингах, если брать высшее образование, кстати, я сегодня хочу поздравить нас всех, впервые в US News Report, вы знаете, несколько больших рейтингов, значит, Education, US News Report, он очень-очень сильный, очень такой жесткий по качеству отбора, вошел еще один университет Казахстана, это наш, Улттық біздің Хамашандарымыз, Казахстан университете, впервые вошел в 2 вуза, Назарбаев университет и вот это наша Африка. Это вот буквально сегодня новости вышли. Но, несмотря на это, вопрос ключевой, который сейчас стоит перед нашим министерством, в целом системой образования, это продолжать этот доступ обеспечивать. Почему? Мы с вами видим беспрецедентный демографический взрыв не только в Казахстане, не только в Центральной Азии, вообще в целом нашем макрорегионе. 2 последних года родилось почти 1 миллион детей. Что это? Это очень положительно. Это 456 тысяч детей в прошлом году, 426 тысяч детей в позапрошлом году. Абсолютный рекорд 21-20 столетия, если взять. 417 тысяч детей родилось у нас в 1987 году в Казахском ССР, и это был абсолютный рекорд 20-го столетия. 2 года назад мы уже имеем с вами 2 новых рекорда, поэтому пандемия, как выясняется, тоже есть свои позитивные стороны. И абсолютный рекорд мы ждем в этом году, в 2022 году мы ожидаем почти 500 тысяч детей. То есть 1,5 миллиона детей родилось только у нас в Казахстане. Узбекистан, это демографический гигант, наш сосед в нашем регионе. Кыргызстан, Таджикистан, везде идет демография. Вверх, но если взять шире наш макрорегион, Индия, Пакистан, Бангладеш, Индия в этом году официально стала самой густонаселенной страной в мире. Обогнав уже Китай с 1,5 миллиарда населения, которое очень быстро растет. Помимо этого начинаются миграционные, очень серьезные изменения. Большинство стран еще не до конца очнулись, или, скажем так, не успели перестроить свои миграционные режимы. Сейчас уже огромное количество наших детей, семей, которые хотят обучать детей за рубежом, начинают испытывать эти миграционные ограничения, визы, миграционные режимы уже не так видим, что в связи еще с большими, к сожалению, не очень хорошими трагическими событиями, которые в нашем регионе происходят, есть определенные перетоки, большое количество людей, которые учились в России, в Украине, сейчас начинают искать альтернативные точки для получения образования. Только, например, в Индии, с Пакистаном 23 тысячи студентов сейчас медицинских университетов украинских стучатся в наши двери, в казахстанские, кыргызские медицинские университеты, для того, чтобы продолжить свое обучение. И вот вспомнив все эти 3-4 фактора, мы уже понимаем, что в ближайшие 3, 5, 10 лет будет очень серьезная проблема обеспечения доступа и к среднему, и в частности, к высшему образованию. 623 тысячи студентов, уважаемые друзья, на сегодняшний день учатся, если брать бакалавров, магистров, PhD, в наших высших учебных заведениях, их 120, 105 гражданских, но уже к 2030 году мы ожидаем двойное увеличение, вдвое увеличение клинического контингента. То есть почти 1 200 000 студентов у нас будет уже буквально через 5-6 лет. И эта волна демографическая вместе с волной миграционной дадут очень серьезное давление на нашу образовательную систему. И первая эта волна ударила уже по дошкольному и среднему образованию, вот то, что мы сейчас видим. Вот эта проблема общежитий, которая остро стала именно в этом году, это тоже последствия вот этой миграционной составляющей. Что нам предстоит сделать? Нам предстоит очень серьезно подумать, как нам справиться с этой демографической волной. Да, с одной стороны, мы увеличиваем количество грантов. В этом году дали беспрецедентные 88 тысяч грантов в высшем образовании, 127 тысяч грантов в среднеспециальном образовании. Никогда такого количества грантов не давали. На 19% в целом увеличили государственный образовательный заказ по сравнению с прошлым годом. Но и это не спасет нас, потому что есть очень серьезные ограничения по академической инфраструктуре. Последний раз, к сожалению, в Казахстане капитальные инвестиции в образовательную инфраструктуру, в академическую инфраструктуру были в 60-е и 70-е годы. Культура 74-75 год, Букетный университет Караград с 70 своими гектарами, это 73-72 годы. Основные вузы наши построены в 60-е и 70-е годы. Отдельность, конечно, надо добавить университет. Мы убираем в сторону по капитальное строительство кампусов, больших учебных площадей у нас закончилось 50-60 лет. И за эти 50-60 лет мы не строили новую академическую инфраструктуру фактически. Это очень серьезное ограничение. Поэтому выхода у нас не так много. Выходов у нас не так много. Первый, тут уже не просто становится данной моде, цифровизация, гибридное образование, онлайн образование, это становится необходимостью. То есть уже сейчас наши вузы не выдерживают такого наплыва студентов. Вот для примера наш Аль-Фараби, который я сегодня упомянул, государственный наш национальный университет, хороший анализ, его академическая инфраструктура рассчитана на 10 от силы 12 тысяч студентов. Как вы думаете, сколько студентов будет сейчас в году? Почти 27 тысяч. Таким образом, все наши университеты уже перестают на самом деле выдерживать то количество студентов, которые начинают поступать. И цифровизация, переход на гибридные форматы обучения, на сокращение периода обучения, переход на более гибкие форматы уже становится неизбежностью. Уже в августе этого года первое решение, которое фактически наше принимали, министр пересмотр государственного стандарта разрешать вузам более гибко пересматривать форматы обучения. Мы впервые разрешили уже и онлайн-форматы, но это законодательное ограничение. Мы сняли ограничения на 4-годичное обучение, чтобы студент 4 года занимал академическую инфраструктуру. Сейчас вузы фактически могут рассматривать сами длительность обучения. Если студент, главное, выдерживает 240 кредитов базовых условий, может закончить за 3,5 года, за 3 года, даже за 2 года, за 2 года, он может это делать. У нас запущенный несколько лет назад, в Астана университете, знаете, поправляет базовые не 4 года, а 3 года. большой шаг. Мы не так просто нам удался. Мы уже открыли несколько кампусов, филиалов больших университетов. Вы знаете, Демонфорт открылся в прошлом году в Алматы. Вот я уже успел попасть на предприятие период в январе, в сентябре, где мы открыли Московский инженерно-технический институт кампус, в Аркадии, Губкина, Ватрова. 6 сентября в Петропавловске мы открыли университет Аризона. Впервые вообще, наверное, в истории нашего региона американский университет, причем такой Аризона, американский университет открылся прямо на границе с нашим большим соседом в Петропавловске. И очень интересные начали вещи происходить. Впервые в Северо-Казахстанской области приехали студенты учиться в СПО. Манаш Кузбаева, наш университет, где нам из 6 регионов. Я лично ездил, встречался со всеми родителями, с 75 первым набором. Тарас, Шымкент, Астана, Алматы. Это если разные регионы, там просто нет перевод. Есть в парламенте, впервые сальдо миграции стабилизировалось в этом регионе. 62% средних выпускников школы этого региона уезжали в Москву, в Россию, в другие регионы, они начали оставаться. То есть сейчас наша задача открыть наше образовательное пространство, дать возможность не только нашим университетам, но и из-за рубежа, большим, серьезным, хорошим университетам, зайти и воспользоваться вот этим огромным рынком образования, которым наши глаза коснутся. Если мы все сделаем правильно, в ближайшие 3-5 лет Казахстан и в целом Центральная Азия может стать очень серьезным академическим хабом, уважаемые друзья. Потому что огромное количество людей, которые ищут выходы для получения высшего образования, которые старые традиционные хабы из-за разных причин, политических, миграционных, ограничительных и других форматов безопасности, мы можем перехватить этот поток и создать очень серьезный образовательный хаб. Прямо здесь. Примеров у нас достаточно. Малайзия, Эмираты, которые смогли создать вот такие островки академической мобильности не только для студентов, но и для ученых, для исследователей, которые ищут безопасную гору для того, чтобы продолжить свои исследования. И Казахстан, и в целом Центральная Азия, не только Казахстан, имеет возможность такую исторически легко предоставляется создать этот хаб. В Узбекистане, нашей соседней стране, уже 27 филиалов университетов открыты, на самом деле, мы очень серьезно опаздываем. Но ключевой, конечно же, вопрос, как нам, сохраняя этот доступ к высшему образованию, не потерять качество. Это минимальная задача. А максимальная задача — усилить это качество. Потому что, как я показал вам, человеческий капитал у нас есть. Я как-то был на одном совещании правительства до того, как я был министром. Просто как эксперты меня позвали, и вопрос стоял очень серьезно. Утечка мозгов. Я вот помните, я просто сказал, я говорю, уважаемые коллеги, большие руководители, это же хорошо, что у нас есть утечка мозгов. Все это меня посмотрели, что ты что говоришь? Я говорю, значит, мозги-то есть чему утекать. Действительно, мозги есть. Но нам не хватает, есть хороший, качественный человеческий капитал, но не хватает компетенций технологических, инженерных, чтобы этот наш качественный, хорошо подготовленный, с широким кругозором, с отличным знанием иностранных языков человеческий капитал мог транслировать, абсорбировать технологии, создавать новую добавленную стоимость, заниматься прикладными исследованиями, создавать точки роста здесь, потому что у нас очень хорошо получается изучать, обобщать, интерпретировать, комментировать, говорить, но создавать, дополнять, улучшать, создавать на базе этих технологий новые дополнительные ценности. Вот это пока у нас плохо получается.
Господин министр,
да.
я прошу прощения, что перебиваю вас.
Все, у меня последняя минута, чтобы завершить свою мысль. И, уважаемые друзья, задача, которую мы сейчас ставим перед собой, она очень амбициозная. Она потребует очень серьезной, в первую очередь, культурной, ценностной перестройки нашего высшего образования и науки, в первую очередь. Нам всем, начиная с министерства, начиная со всех наших руководителей, больших мнений, которые еще в советское время остались, начиная со всех наших уважаемых профессоров, заканчивая всеми нашими молодыми профессорами, заканчивая всеми нашими студентами, нужно научиться выйти из зоны комфорта. Потому что, к сожалению, то, как мы сейчас выстраиваем наше образование, то, как мы сейчас выстраиваем наши исследования, как мы осваиваем гранты, как мы пишем статьи, как мы пишем книги, недостаточно. Чтобы действительно сделать вот этот технологический рывок, повторить историю успеха наших соседей, азиатских стран, нам нужно сделать еще чуть больше. Нужно научиться создавать продукты. И это очень тяжело. Мы очень хорошо преподаем, неплохо преподаем. Мы пишем книги, мы пишем статьи, публикуем. Но нашим профессорам, нашим ученым нужно формировать новый, очень серьезный блок компетенций. Это блок технологический, это блок компетенций созидательный, инженерный. Это формирование очень прикладных вещей, это формирование новых лабораторий, это научиться работать с тем оборудованием, которое мы уже закупаем. Поэтому, уважаемые друзья, нужна будет очень серьезная общественная поддержка тех больших новых реформ, которые мы потихоньку начнем внедрять в нашей сфере, потому что будет больно, потому что будет большое сопротивление, потому что люди, привыкшие делать 30 лет науку, будут очень серьезно сопротивляться. И я обращаюсь сегодня ко всем присутствующим онлайн, офлайн в нашем зале. Пожалуйста, помогите нам правильно переосмыслить приоритеты развития нашего образования. Поддержите те инициативы, которые сейчас появятся на недрах нашего министерства. Нужна будет очень серьезная общественная поддержка для того, чтобы все-таки все те люди, которые имеют отношение к образованию, которые заняты образованием, наконец-то поняли, что без внутренней трансформации, внешней трансформации не будет. Үлкен рахмет. Ағылшынша айтқанда, let's make education great again. Үлкен рахмет.
Спасибо большое, господин министр. Сегодня в этом зале как раз собрались те юные умы. Именно те, кто готов менять не только образование в нашей стране, но готов менять целый мир. So, friends, how are you? Ain't you tired? How do you feel? Just give me applause, please. Let's get more energetic. And I'm happy to pass the word to Sunny Tashkent Nilfar. We are waiting for the next speaker.
Angela, thank you. Now I would like to invite on stage Mr. Alisher Sadulayev, the director of the Youth Affairs Agency of Uzbekistan, the youngest senator who started his career as a deputy minister of public education when he was 23 years old. Youth Affairs Agency is the partner of the 5th Nobel Fest in Uzbekistan.
Assalamu alaikum, hurmatli tadbir ishtirokchilari. Assalamu alaikum, ladies and gentlemen. I'm very proud to host here in Tashkent 5th Nobel Fest and to be part of this big event. Thanks to organizers first, Maqsad Kurbanov and the Coca-Cola to make this global platform accessible for all young people in the world. Yesterday I had a conversation with the Nobel Prize winner, Professor Ray Kwon Chung, and we had a Spartan conversation over dinner. Listening to his opinions about economically developed country, I thought about one thing. Now, our country has 60% of young population, or the game changers who have this influence on the growth of our country. And the old element we have to have is sustainable growth for our future. And I asked the same question ourselves. Who are the ones who promise the sustainable future for us? I think no one. Only us, ourselves, young people who are here in this studio can promise this. And the second thing I actually got over our conversation is that our teachers of best teachers in the world in 2021, Keisha Trop and her sister, they have walked through lots of experiences, difficulties, but they made it happen. Their example shows anyone in the world, education, which is a very hard and very difficult path to take, is worth it. And listening to their story, I got tons of motivation that young people from Uzbekistan should or must definitely be inspired by their example. And today, on a big platform, I'm sure the organizers had a mission, they said, to make it accessible for young people to have lessons from the world top class experts. And I think they have achieved their goal. Thanks all the organizers of this event. I'm sure Tashkent will be very happy to host such events in the future as well. Today is just the beginning. I'm sure more and more Nobel Prize winners, more and more best teachers of the world will come to Tashkent and other cities to inspire more young people around us. Thank you once again.
Thank you very much, Mr. Zafarovich, for your motivation, energy, and inspiring speech that you have shared with us. Ladies and gentlemen, dear participants, and now I am honored to pass the floor to the strategic corporate partner of the 5th Nobel Fest, Mr. Sinan Cemşahin, Public Affairs, Communication, and Sustainability Vice President of the Coca-Cola Company for Eurasia and Middle East. Mr. Sinan, are you listening to us?
Yes. Hello, Nobel Fest. Sorry for the technical disruption. Dear Honorable Minister, distinguished speakers, esteemed audience of Nobel Fest, it's my great pleasure to greet you on behalf of Coca-Cola Company. I'm very, very excited and happy to be here. Hopefully next year, I wish I would be physically present in one of those great, beautiful halls, either in Kazakhstan or Uzbekistan or any other location. I'd like to start by talking about Eurasian Middle East Operating Unit. I represent Eurasian Middle East Operating Unit of the company. And this geography covers 25 countries, starting from Uzbekistan, Kazakhstan, Pakistan, all the way to Turkey and Middle East. And most of the countries of this region, through academia, bright and talented youth community, I believe are well represented in the International Nobel Fest. As a strategic partner of International Nobel Fest, we as Coca-Cola really take pride in supporting this program, which is indeed one of the greatest platforms to inspire youth and young people. And we believe the companies cannot be successful without communities being successful as well. Therefore, we strive to support sustainable development of communities in various areas, such as women and youth empowerment, preservation of water resources, and waste reduction. We actively partner with governments, NGOs, universities to support these programs that make positive impact in the lives of people. We have supported various youth development projects in Pakistan, Uzbekistan, Pakistan, among others. We operate as a company in more than 200 countries of the world, and everywhere we aim to contribute to sustainable development of communities. Being partner and supporter of Nobel Fest, we are excited, very, very excited to contribute to empowerment of our young friends. We are happy to be part of this unique event that brings prominent and highly reputable international and local speakers, thought leaders, business executives to share their experience, wisdom, and learning with young generation. This indeed is one of the ways to build an education nation, as stated in the title of this session. Nobel Fest is truly a very rare and valuable opportunity to broaden your horizon, feed your curiosity, and discover new dreams. The purpose of our company is to refresh the world and make a difference. We are proudly working with our partners for better shared future and make a difference in people's lives, communities, and our planet. I'm very, very confident that such a platform like Nobel Fest will inspire lots of youngsters for success in the pursuit of their educational goals and career aspirations. Some students participating in these sessions could one day find solutions to national or even global challenges that humanity faces. But even small steps, small achievements of young generation would make a big difference. Therefore, I congratulate you all, especially the organizers, with the start of the 5th International, and wish you all a very enjoyable and very inspiring day of learning. All the best. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Sinan Cem Şahin. As for me, I try to follow all the activity of the Coca-Cola company, and I really admire them. And if all the companies in the world had the same approach, we wouldn't be worried about the future of our planet. Once again, thank you very much. And now, I would like to give the floor to my colleague from Kazakhstan, Angela, who is next.
Assalamu alaikum. Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Excellencies, you see, I'm absolutely delighted to be here. You know, I came to this country back in 1999 and have seen the transformation of your beautiful country into a very progressive nation. So congratulations on achieving so much in the field of education, economy, science and technology, and a lot more. Kazakhstan is an excellent example of one of the best countries which has developed over a span of 33 decades into a very prosperous and a progressive nation. I am here representing 1.9 billion people of the Muslim world. I'm the Coordinator General of COMSTEC, which is responsible of Science and Technology program in OIC member states. So whatever I will contribute are going to be in the context of 1.9 billion people in 57 countries in 4 continents. 1/4 of humanity, a large number of them are young people like you, bold, bright, and beautiful. Let me begin my remarks by expressing my greetings to the organizers of 5th Nobel Fest for putting together another excellent festival of knowledge and hope for the future leaders. My gratitude to them for lighting the candle of hope and for giving the sense of direction to millions of young people all across the globe. Their slogan, "Together we can change the world and bring global science, innovation and education to every corner," is visionary and heartwarming. I am grateful to them for inviting COMSTEC to be the co-organizer of 6th Nobel Festival, which will be held together with Kazakhstan early next year in beautiful capital of Islamabad in Pakistan, inshallah. We live in a world which is defined by knowledge and its application. As Pakistani Nobel laureate Professor Abdul Salam once said, the developing countries differ from developed countries not only because they have less wealth and capital, but because they have less knowledge. So the fact is that developing world countries are far behind because they do not really possess the knowledge which is required for development. This forum is even more important than ever in the context of post-COVID world where economic meltdown of many countries not only adversely eroded the investment and attention towards education, but also magnified the existing divide in knowledge gap. Before this growing knowledge gap become unbridgeable, we need to act and we need to act promptly. In this graceful ceremony, sharing the stage with leading scholars, I speak in various capacities as a teacher who spent all of his life in imparting education to young people from different corners of the world, including Kazakhstan. As a student of science who believes on its transformation power, and as a technocrat responsible of science and technology cooperation in vast OIC countries. Wearing different hats, I am going to try to present some of these thoughts and some humble recommendation for you to think about it. You see, I represent Organization of Islamic Cooperation, 1.9 billion people, and the problems are multifaceted. There are 57 countries in 4 continents, and many of them are among the least developed countries of the world. The question is whether we are happy to progress and develop in our own nations and leave these countries behind. Perhaps not, because knowledge and education has to be a common heritage for everyone. And every child, every young man has a right to be educated and to develop. And this is what is my mission. I, as a teacher, my first and foremost comments are about the dismal state of education in OIC member states, a constituency which I represent here today. Major challenges which Muslim world face in the field of education include low access to education, as among these 780 million illiterate people, half of them are in OIC member states. Female literacy is well below the world average. We're very fortunate that we have universal education, as mentioned by the Honorable Minister. According to UNESCO, 40% of Muslim women are unable to read or write. There are countries and regions where girls' education is forbidden as a state policy. So this is an extremely serious situation. Exclusion of children, of minorities and children with disabilities is another very important problem. Armed conflicts in 5 different regions of the OIC world, leading a large-scale migration. People are moving from their countries for safe haven to the other countries also. And of course, lack of investment in schools, trained teachers, and educational material, including education technologies, are among the most important impediment. And kindly remember, when people living in absolute poverty, they cannot simply afford to send their children to school. We must change the status quo and work on war footing to ensure every child must get the opportunity for basic education. Ladies and gentlemen, as a student of science, I'm a scientist by profession. A scientist who has worked all of his life in exploring nature, and I'm one of the most cited scientists in the country. As a student of science, I know that the driving force of socio-economic development today is knowledge. World today is driven by human capital, equipped with knowledge and skill. Research and technology are the key drivers of modern economies, whereas entrepreneurship are redefining the progress. In today's world, socio-economic development is no longer dependent on natural resources, oil or cotton or wheat or other resources. Knowledge is the main fuel which runs the engine of and that is the dismal state which one need to understand. According to 2019 report of McKinsey Global Institute, 12 disruptive technologies will generate a wealth of over $33 trillion in next 5 years. These include mobile internet, artificial intelligence, IoT, Internet of Things, advanced robotics, next generation genomics and biotechnology, advanced material by nanotechnology, regenerative medicine, and new energy devices. The question is, are we ready to adopt these new technologies? And where technologies are being developed? The fact is, these technologies are developed in global north, and we remain the poor users of these technologies, where the intellect of our young people would be used to be contributors as an equal human citizen in global knowledge generation. It's extremely important. And this is the fact which I want to tell you. Since this is the Nobel Fest, I want to tell you one glaring example of what is happening in the global scenario. See, all technological development are based on seminal fundamental discoveries. 121 Nobel Prizes were won by one single institution, the University of Cambridge, UK, while collectively all developing countries have less than 12 Nobel Prizes in science. This is the state in which we live. The fact is that in many of our nations, we are continuing to live in the darkness of superstition and ignorance. Now wearing, this is the last component of my remarks, now wearing the hat of a senior technocrat in OIC system, in my capacity as the Coordinator General of a Standing Committee of 57 ministers, including Honorable Minister of Kazakhstan, I'd like to share my humble thoughts for a paradigm shift. Though I was speaking in the context of OIC countries, but it is equally relevant to the other developing nations also. Extremely important to have a bipartisan and persistent political will for the cause of education, science and technology. It cannot change with every 4 years when elections elect a new government. Sustain and increase expenditure on all levels of education as well as research and development. You know, OIC shares of global expenditure is 0.43% of their GDP as compared to 1.78% of the global average. Greater women participation. You cannot simply ignore 50% of intellectual capital which we have in our countries. We need to have them part of the mainstream scientific research, development, and higher education paradigm. Currently, 649 per woman per million population are there in the developing countries as compared to 2,532 in the world average. On the same account, the number of researchers per capita per million population is also far lower than the global average, even the average of the developing countries. Greater share of R&D expenditure on emerging and and research commercialization. Harnessing the power of collaboration across the countries and cultures, that science has no boundaries. We need to work for the global common good and for solving the enduring challenges which humanity faces today. Most importantly, ladies and gentlemen, we should inculcate a joy of learning. This tremendous joy of learning new things, and the desire to seek out and consume scientific information for the greater common good in our bright young people. I'm extremely pleased to report here that as per vision of the former President of Republic of Kazakhstan, we are in the process of developing a new institution infrastructure for science and technology, and it's called OIC 50. This is an instrument through which we will make sure that 15 most developed OIC countries will work together to help the other countries which are in need. And we are planning to have the next ministerial conference of 15 OIC member states in early 2023. I had a very brief discussion with the minister also. Last but certainly not the least, I strongly believe that the best model for development, socio-economic development for countries like ours, is to invest in capacity building of our youth. Our greatest asset is between 2 years. This is our greatest asset. I'd like to end my remarks from the quote of Nobel laureate Professor Abdul Salam, and he said, "Scientific thoughts and its creation is the common and shared heritage of mankind." So what stops us to lay the edifice of development on knowledge and creative potential of our youth than on material wealth? After all, progress without education, science and technology is nothing but a pipe dream. With this, I wish to once again express my gratitude to the organizers for this wonderful event, this gatherings of young minds and bright people and leading scholars, and all of you, ladies and gentlemen, for your presence here. Certainly a great occasion for me to remember and cherish. Thank you very much. Assalamu alaikum. Thank you very much.
Раз. Прекрасно заработал мой микрофон. Наконец-то можно расслабиться. Наш телеком с Ташкентом закончен. Достар, Клаус, Николай, как настроение? Ну что ж, мы продолжаем. Теперь мы...
Dear participants, distinguished guests, the teleconference has come to its end, and now we're going to proceed with the second part of the event. And we have 2 topics and 2 prominent speakers who I'm sure will change your mindset and help you to find the right and meaningful path in your lives. To continue the topic, building an education nation, let me invite to the stage Global Teacher Prize winner, Keisha Thorpe.
Good afternoon. Good afternoon. Thank you. All right, I know you have been sitting for a while. So what I'm going to ask you to do is just get up for a minute. Everyone stand up for a minute. Stand up, stand up, stand up. There we go. All right, reach up and stretch, yawn, and do everything. Because guess what? I want no one sleeping when I start talking. All right, stretch it out, stretch it out. All right. And say hi to your neighbor while you're at it. All right, please have a seat. So it is a privilege and an honor to be here at Nobel Fest. And it is so amazing that I have an opportunity today to stand before you and to deliver a speech about education. So many times we talk about so many other topics and so many other things that impact our communities, our society, and our world. But education is one of those things that we never really talk about much. And so as the Global Teacher Prize winner, I think the onus is on me to make sure that I'm carrying that torch for education. I'm carrying that torch for students, and I'm carrying that torch for teachers. Because I want to use my platform to always advocate for education, for students, and for teachers at the highest level. So it is an honor to be here today to address you. So along with myself, I am here with my other half, Dr. Tricia Thorpe, who you'll probably meet later. So I'm a twin, identical of course, and it has been quite a journey for both of us, and I'll tell you a little bit about our personal story. My story is also her story as well. So every time I talk about myself, I'm also talking about her, because we have experienced our upbringing together, and of course, not just because we're kin, but our experiences have also brought us closer together. And that's why we are at this stage still together and still close, and continue to serve our communities together, because as we have been through our educational journey, we have used our life's work to really give back to education. So throughout my educational journey, I have always heard this quote by Horace Mann: "Education is the great equalizer." And while this may prove to be true in some places, it is also a great divider. So think about that for a second. Education is a great equalizer, but while it may prove true in some places, it's also a great divider. This division comes out of socioeconomic differences, a lack of access to the right to a quality education, and the inequities that plague education systems across the globe. So let me share with you my personal story. As a young child growing up in the poorest parts of Jamaica, with my sister, of course, with my grandmother who raised us, preschool education was not available to us. So my first experience in education was sitting on a log in an unfinished building shaded by a large apple tree. A small group of us were taught by a mother in the neighborhood who was not a teacher, she was not certified to teach children, and she also has never been to college. It could have been very terrible for us, but it wasn't, because look at me now. And even though you may consider this not to be real learning that was taking place, because she wasn't a certified, quote unquote, certified teacher, but one of the things that I love is that she was instilling in us the value of education at an early age. And this was reinforced by my grandmother at home, who had only a 6th grade education. This wasn't by choice, but the card that was dealt to her growing up in a developing country almost 100 years ago that only offered a functional education to the population for free. She realized how it limited her life chances and the ability to advance in society, and she wanted more for us. She used to say to me, "I do not wish this kind of poverty on even my worst enemy, so you better stay in school and get your education." Her encouragement and support pushed me to eventually get a scholarship to the US to pursue my studies to try to have a better life. While I was in college, my course of study was pre-law. However, I kind of really met my calling in college after I had an opportunity to tutor and mentor students at a local public school. It was then that I realized how many students did not have the tools to learn and also a fair chance to become successful. So I really pivoted from my law track and began to decide on being a teacher and following my purpose and really championing their cause and advocating for students at the highest level, because I also learned that when you have an observation, you have an obligation. So I could not turn a blind eye to the children who I saw in poverty, who were still trying to make it out just like I did. So as I entered into the teaching profession, I realized that students, especially from the vulnerable population, experience so many challenges. And as I was a student in a developing country, Jamaica, there were students in the US, about a few blocks away from the White House, who were experiencing some of the same challenges I experienced growing up in a developing country, right down the street from the president's house. And though we have made significant progress and gains in education, we are still behind in a lot of areas. And though many people think that these issues do not exist in the US, I'm here to tell you that it does. We have provided more access to education, but somehow millions of children are still left behind. The pandemic has given us a reality check by really magnifying some of those challenges and areas we need to bridge the divide and to change policies that produce unequal outcomes for students. So let me share some facts with you about social and economic differences in educated and least educated countries. And as I'm sharing these facts with you, I really want you to think about them and let it resonate with you. 1 in 3 countries spend less than 4% of their GDP and less than 15% of their budget on education. 267 million people globally aged 15 to 24 are still not in any form of employment, education, or training. 40% of the global population does not have access to an education in a language they speak or understand. Only 20% of children are enrolled in pre-primary education in low-income countries. 118.5 million girls are out of school globally. 12 million children will never, ever, ever set foot in a classroom. 344 million children do not complete primary school and learn the basics. Low-income countries spend an average of $188 on the education of each student, whereas high-income countries spend $8,133 per student, which is about 4 times the amount. In least developed countries, only 19% of women are using the internet, while it is at 31% for men. Globally, 1 out of every 3 people up to age 25 have internet access at home. Globally, 69 million teachers are needed to achieve the universal basic education goal to meet SDG, Sustainable Development Goal number 4. And in sub-Saharan Africa, we still have a need for 15 million teachers if they are also to meet the Sustainable Development Goal of equal and equitable education for all. Only half of workers worldwide have jobs corresponding with their levels of education. And in developing countries, 90% of children with disability do not attend school. School closures from COVID-19 have left, hear this, over 1 billion of students out of school and have caused students to lose $10 trillion in earnings over their working lives. In 2021, just last year, 244 million children and young people were out of school. So, as I'm reading those facts, I'm just really feeling exhausted about the crisis that is really taking place in education. If we are to build sustainable educated nations, we have to figure out solutions and do so quickly. The world is moving at a rapid pace and education is being left behind. Left behind on shelves, stuck in textbooks that teachers do not want to give up, fearing that technology will replace their jobs. Education is left behind in fixed mindset of policymakers who make decisions without real stakeholders, students and teachers, and people in education who are on the front line, and not giving them a seat at the table. Education is left behind by those who continue to perpetuate inequities and blame students, teachers, and society for the reason vulnerable population of students are not achieving. And when quality education does not show up for our students, then they get left behind. The governments across the globe need to do more in investing in students and teachers and stop building these grand universities that are ineffective, that houses empty chairs and desks and waste electricity because enough students are not aspiring or meeting the requirements to go to college. They need to invest in their money in research and find the root causes and address them. Use the funds to invest in teacher training, upskilling and reskilling teachers to meet the needs of the modern day students and the modern day classrooms. Use the money on food programs because hungry children cannot learn. Use the money to modernize school buildings, especially in the rural areas, and not just build new ones with poor enrollment and poor quality education. Students deserve more. Find the root cause and invest the money there. Invest the money to increase teacher salaries because they too deserve more. Lastly, I say to build an education nation, we also have to really abandon old paradigms and adopt current, relevant, research, evidence-based approaches. Get rid of traditional approaches that no longer serve our students and our education systems. We have to shift our mindset. Let's look at the importance of girls' education and how to provide more inclusive, equitable, safe, and healthy schools where all of our students and teachers can thrive. So, I will end in this way as I began, by reminding you of my first experience with education. As I sat on a log in an unfinished building, shaded by a large apple tree. And I have come a far way from those humble beginnings, but they have made me the person I am today. They have let me understand the transformative power of education. I stand before you very sad still, after so many years of progress in education. I still see my story being played out in so many other places in the world. And if we are to move forward, we must do our part to advance education and to advance the welfare of the whole human race. It takes a village. We have to act now because education cannot wait and we cannot continue to leave students behind. Because every child deserves a champion, an adult, who will never ever give up on them, who understands the power of connection and insists that they become the very best they can possibly be. So I say to you all today, believe in students, believe in their stories, believe in their value, and believe in their teachers. And this is how we begin to build an educated nation. Thank you. And I'm going to go ahead and open the floor up for questions. Go ahead. A microphone? Do we have a microphone?
So, hello, good afternoon. So I have a question. So if I want to provide my country's citizens with high quality education, it's needed to study at university or just taking any kind of courses which are really relevant and reliable. Which one is best one?
Which course of study is best to take?
No, I mean studying at university or taking online courses, instead of spending 4 years at university.
So it depends on the learner. One of the things that I'm glad that came out of COVID is the different learning options that technology has now opened up and provided for students to either do independent learning or synchronous learning or asynchronous learning. So it depends on the individual. Everyone has a different style of learning. Personally, I'll share a story about my daughter. During the pandemic, my daughter thrived. And then when it was time to go back into the classroom, she said, why? Why do I have to go? I want to study on my own. I can do this. And she thrived during the pandemic. She even took college classes while she was in high school during the pandemic. And she pushed herself and she challenged herself. And so she felt like the classroom was not the best driver for her because she became unmotivated. So I say it depends on the individual. And it also depends on the course of study because, of course, if you're studying science and you have to go into the science labs, like biology and do your experiments and so on, you probably need to be in a lab, in a physical lab in a building. But again, it depends on the individual. But I'm really glad that in the 21st century, there are so many different learning options that are open up to students.
So thank you very much. And it's continuing it. So if it's about the business, about in education system, is it okay to take course? Just I can say I am little bit extrovert and also self-study, right? So it's good, yeah, to study by taking online courses.
So that's a good question, and that's also a personal question. If you're an introvert and you don't like being around people, and you're trying to go into the business field, think about how that would make you either successful or not successful. Because there are certain interpersonal skills that you have to learn in order to be successful in that kind of environment when you're dealing with people. So it also depends on the kind of business that you want to run. Are you someone who is a gamer, who is always going to be in the room by yourself? Are you someone who is doing trading, online, stocks, and so on? Or are you someone who is into customer service, an area of business that you have to serve your customers one-on-one. So then you have to, that is a determinant on whether or not you think those interpersonal skills, communication, listening, and so on, and leadership skills is important.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Question over here.
Good afternoon. First of all, welcome to our country. I'm Laçınbek. I'm studying at master's degree at National University, and my theme is meritocracy in education. What do you think? Today, our society globally is getting more meritocratic, and in this process, I think some children haven't enough potential to achieve their high qualified education in the world. sometimes more qualified teachers want to work for private schools. In this case, sometimes children can't achieve more high level of education. How can solve this problem? What's your opinion about this?
That's a good question. We do see, I actually had an opportunity to speak with someone locally about how teachers are incentivized here in Uzbekistan. And what I found out was that teachers who teach in the private school system actually get paid more. So they are motivated to, teachers are more motivated to go to the private schools to teach. And that creates that gap that you're talking about, where when teachers don't feel like they're valued because they're not being incentivized well, then it also impacts the quality of education that goes into public schools. One of the other things that I recognize that Uzbekistan does really well are those presidential schools. I love the concept, I love the selection process, but we also have to think about, again, how we are catering to the needs of all of our children, how we are providing equity to make sure all of our students receive that level of quality of education. And so none of our students are left behind. So I would say, students, you do have a voice. You take the platform and you lead the way. Let the government know that you are experiencing these challenges and these levels of inequities. Or if you have teachers that you think are not qualified to teach in your classroom or you're not being challenged, you have to let them know. You have to let them know that these problems exist and you need to have a voice and fight for your own right to a quality education as well. So I'm putting the onus on you and empowering you as students to speak up. Make sure that your voice is heard and make sure that you are not being pushed to the side because other students who are considered to be more smart or more capable, or they look like they'll become the next president or the next engineer, are taking those spots, because you deserve the right to a quality education as well. So definitely take a seat at the table, speak up, and make sure that you're getting the same quality education because you also deserve it.
Thank you very much for your answer.
I'll take one more.
Hello. I have one question. How we change our culture? Because it is really important. First, if we change our educations, that we need to change our culture, because our culture really mixed in. There's happen to
got in touch with this guy, the producer, that was from China, and he said, hey, you need to go to I Am Singer. He went to China, especially he paid for his own trip, and he won. So if you have a dream, then you'll find a way. But if you have a dream and you only sit in one place, it's not gonna happen. So like I mentioned, you're an artist, for example, like you want to be a Nobel Prize winner, for example, but you keep sitting in Kazakhstan, nothing is going to happen. Think about it. Yeah? So because the world will not be the path to get out of your home. So to watch the same king popular because of his perseverance and there are a lot of genius people, a lot of
how we change our culture. Yeah.
So could you repeat the question?
If we develop our educations, we need, first of all, change our culture, because our culture are really difficult difference and mix it in Arabic as Arabic and Russians. So first of all, we change our culture. How we change our culture? It's my question.
All right. if I'm thinking I'm hearing correctly, I'm thinking...
I'm not speaking English fluently.
Oh, no, no problem at all. I'm actually a teacher to English language learners. So thank you for your question. If I think I'm interpreting your question correctly, is that you're saying that in your culture, in order to change certain things in the education system, you have to change the culture first, right?
Yeah.
Well, I don't think so much of you have to change your culture, but thinking more of how can teachers make sure that they integrate culture into learning in a meaningful way. Because as a teacher of immigrants and refugee students, I would never want to take away their culture from them, but learn their stories and integrate that back into what I'm teaching them and making learning more relevant for my students, more culturally relevant for my students. Maybe there are other policies that need to change in order to make education more accessible. But I don't necessarily think it's a cultural thing. I more so think it's a mindset thing. So those old traditional way of thinking is what we need to really get rid of. We need to make sure that whatever we're doing in education, we're making sure that we're making decisions to cater to the needs of the whole child and making sure that all students have an opportunity to be successful. But it's not so much of a culture shift, it's more so of a mindset shift.
Thank you for the question.
Hello, everyone. Good morning. Always my parents says for women, first of all, it's family, and they says I want studying, I want achieve success, but my parents don't want.
You spent your time at the university,
yes,
so your parents told you to get married, yeah? You mean this?
No, it's especially if are you asked what do you choose, family or career?
Family or career?
Career.
Ooh, that's a hard one. That's the hard one. It depends on your family dynamic because for me, I would choose career. Earlier in my life, I would have chosen career over family, and the reason why is because I came from a dysfunctional family. I was raised by my grandmother, so I didn't have a mother in the home or a father in the home. So I had to go with the mindset of survival of the fittest. So I wasn't thinking family, I was thinking of how I could get out of poverty and how I could make a sustainable life for myself. I know that in your culture, family is so important. So it depends on your family dynamic, and it depends on your decision as a young woman to break those glass ceilings, because so many times we are pushed in positions where women have to assume these traditional roles, and these are the pathways that we have to take, and these are our rites of passage. But the world is changing, and we as women, we are breaking those glass ceilings, and we have seen where, especially like in the US, where we now have a woman vice president. So we see the roles of women transition over time and has broken down barriers. And so what I would say for you as a woman, do not limit yourself. Follow your goals, follow your dream, follow your heart. Maybe that's a tough conversation that you have to have with your parents, but always follow your purpose.
All right, 1 minute, please. If your husband don't want you are working, what you choose, and you very want working, studying, achieve success, but your husband
doesn't let you
want-
work.
Yes.
Well, guess what? I mean, as women, we possess these superpowers, right? We can raise children, we can go to work, we can come home and take care of the home, we can take care of our husbands at the same time. There's no limits to what a woman can do. Again, and I think maybe that's a personal question, and I'm not a psychologist or a psychiatrist, but I think those are tough conversations that you have to have with your partner or your family. Those are really tough conversations to have. But again, as a society, as we transcend and as society advance, we have to really start acknowledging that the role of a woman is not in the home anymore. We're not domesticated. We have a voice. We have things to add to society. We have gifts and talents. We have innovation. We have creativity. We have so much more to give than just being a mother and just being a wife.
May I add, Keisha, so nowadays women can combine family and work.
Yes.
I am telling you as a woman which has family and works. So there are a lot of opportunities today, housekeepers, babysitters, and you can delegate your duties. And you can talk with your partner, with your husband, with your family, that it is more important if your children will have smart and educated mother than a mother that can clean and cook for them. I think so. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
It's
Thank
just
you
my
so much.
opinion.
Thank you for adding that. Thank you. And just make sure that you feel empowered. Be empowered. Empower yourself. And just remember that your children are your you are your children's role models. So you have to make sure that you empower yourself and lead the way for them.
Good afternoon.
I'm sorry, but it's the last question because we have next speaker, okay?
Welcome to our country. I hope you are enjoying well.
Yes.
My question is about your achievement. What do you think? What's your most toppest award that helped you to achieve, to deserve Nobel Award? What's your toppest and important achievement that helped you to deserve it?
So I'll say my transition as a teacher, I think I shared this earlier. I did not start my career path as a teacher. I started as a pre-law student in college, but I wanted to make sure that I championed the cause for young people who were in poverty and grew up in abject situation like myself. And I think I was asked a question earlier about sacrifice. And I think when you get to this place in your life where you think that you're called for a specific purpose, there's always going to be a sacrifice. And I think I have given up a lot. I have given up other job opportunities. I have given up moving my education to the next level. I have given up family time. I have given up personal time. And there are many times as teachers, we get burnt out. We get so overworked and so overloaded sometimes. And our mental health is drained to capacity. But the ability to be motivated and get up every morning and say, I'm doing this with a purpose. And when I get up every morning, I see the face of all the young people in my classroom that motivate me to want to get up, go into that classroom, and abandon all of my fears, all of my tiredness, all of my worries, my own personal home problems, and go into that classroom. And they light up because I'm there, and I light up because they light up my world as well. And I think when you have that kind of joy, it supersedes everything else that you think that you have sacrificed. And one of the best things that I have gotten out of teaching and the sacrifices I've made to be in the classroom for my students every day is that when they come back with their stories of how I've changed their lives, when I see my students go on to college and go into careers, and when I see my English language learners start speaking English fluently or proficiently, those are small gains for me, but those are big wins for them. So the ability to change my students' lives is my life's purpose and my life's work. And so I mean, I don't know. But I hope I answered your question.
Yeah.
So
Thank you for
that
your
is my
answer.
life's purpose. And unfortunately, I cannot answer any more questions. If you would like to ask me a question, I can see you on the side and I can answer your questions. But in respect for time, I have to exit. Thank you so much for...
Thank you very much, dear Keisha. Our students, our participants want to talk to you more and more, but time is limited. And you have raised today very concrete and important issues from the stage. Thank you very much. And continuing your opinion, I would like to add that the education isn't limited only by the walls of the educational institution. It's a constant process that enables flourishing of the nations. So thank you very much for your warmth, light, and motivation and inspiring speech. That was the very interesting speech for today's event. Thank you very much and hope to see you again in our country. Dear participants, now let me invite to the stage Nobel Peace Prize laureate of the 2007 Board Director of the Ban Ki-moon Foundation, Mr. Rai Kwon-chung, who will tell us about new thinking of the climate crisis.
Hello. Yeah, good afternoon. It's my pleasure to have the opportunity to share my ideas for how we can tackle climate crisis we are facing now. And my title for my speech is New Thinking for Climate, because climate problem happen because of our current old thinking, and we cannot solve this problem. Where is it not moving? Where should I point it? Here? Is this one? The first slide, this is actually the cover of my book, which I published in July this year. And in this book, I quoted a phrase from Einstein. Einstein said this. I don't have to explain, right? You understand what Einstein means, right? We cannot solve our problems with the same thinking we used when we created those problems. If I interpret it in the context of climate change, it can be read like this. We cannot solve our climate crisis with the same thinking when we created our climate problem. Many people are thinking about what is the main reason, root cause of a climate crisis. I have been thinking about this for some time, and my conclusion is that the root cause of climate crisis is the free market system. That is, treating air, water, climate as free goods. Free goods means something free. But unfortunately, air, water, and climate is no longer free. We cannot treat them as free goods. So we have to transform our free market economic system to be sustainable market. What I mean by sustainable market means the market that is paying the right price for air, water, climate, ecosystem is a sustainable market. But the current market we are operating our economic system is based on free market system, not sustainable market system. So our challenge is, how can we transform our free market economic system to be sustainable market system? Actually, the word sustainable market is the word I created myself. I don't think anybody else is using the same terminology like a sustainable market. Maybe you never have heard about it. This is why I say it's a new thinking. New thinking is something you never heard about. In order to explain why we have and improving quality of life, we generated a large volume of middle-class citizens enjoying high quality of life, thanks to free market capitalism. And even the environmental performance very much improved. Countries like United States, many developed countries, thanks to the high level of income, they could invest for the protection of the environment. So this is a typical case of grow first, clean up later. But this free market capitalism, focusing on economic growth, worked very well until 1970. But since the 1990s, in the process of globalization, based on neoliberalism, which is mainly focusing on free market principle for financial sector, then economic growth is no longer improving the quality of life, rather it is making the quality of life getting worse since the 1990s. And it is making sustainability and the climate crisis to be getting even worse. So this is a very different situation from the situation until 1970s. But we still remember our policymakers, our economic policymakers, economists, and our business still remember the old memory. Old memory means economic growth was a very good solution for quality of life and environmental performance. So they all think that, still remember that, economic growth will solve all the problems. Because it has been, economic growth has been very good solution for social and ecological issues. But since 1990s, economic growth no longer is a positive thing. This is what I'm saying. Until 1970, economic growth improved the higher quality of life and the better environmental performance. But since 1990, this is a bad cycle. Economic growth no longer guarantee high quality of life and environmental performance. It is contrary to the previous experience. Economic growth is widening income gap, worsening ecological sustainability. So we are stuck now in this very bad cycle. But still our policymakers are remembering the old memory. And they are simply trying to push maximizing economic growth, believing that economic growth will solve our problem. But unfortunately, it doesn't work anymore. No longer. Economic growth no longer can solve the social issues, ecological issues. Rather, economic growth is making things worse. Then what should we do? This is actually some of my analysis why that kind of a thing is happening. But I don't want to spend my time on explaining too much about this. One of the basic difference between bad cycle and the good cycle is, in the bad cycle, we are exploiting human and natural capital. We are not paying the right price for the people and the planet. That's why we are having the bad cycle. But we need to transform from bad cycle, maximizing short-term quantity of GDP, we have to move to good cycle, pursuing long-term quality of growth. It's a long-term, not short-term, quality, not quantity, and not exploiting, but investing. So we have to invest in human capital and natural capital. And many people talks about sustainable development. Actually, sustainable development, to me, is a combination of investing in the people and investing in our planet. If we do that, then we can have a sustainable development. I have been promoting the idea of green growth since 2005. Green growth is, in other words, is a paradigm to invest in natural capital and stimulating economic growth. That is green growth. Likewise, if we invest in human capital, actually investing in human capital is education. Education is investing in human capital. So if we invest in human capital, in the long run, we will have an even higher economic growth. This is why we are investing in education, right? Same thing, same logic. If we invest in our natural capital, then we can have a higher economic growth. This is green growth. And if we do two things together, that will be sustainable development. So this is the model of sustainable development, which I have been promoting during last about more than 17 years. So now we need a fundamental system change. We cannot achieve green growth or inclusive growth with the old approach. We need a fundamental system change. Free market has to be sustainable market. Conventional economics has to be sustainable economics. Conventional economics means, I already explained. Sustainable economics means making economics is a tool, not a goal, for long-term quality of life and ecological sustainability. In other words, at the moment when you are learning economics in your university, the economics science is treating human being and natural resources simply as an input for maximization of GDP and production. So you, the human being, is just an input. And the natural resource, fossil fuel, and everything is just an input for the production. So economic growth is going to be a goal, and the human being, the people and planet is going to be just an input. But sustainable economics means we have to use economic knowledge and the theory to serve the quality of life and the sustainability of our ecological system. So we have to use economics as a tool, not as a goal, to serve our quality of life and ecological sustainability. Then why should we do that? It's because in the long run, if we do that, in the long run, we can have even higher economic growth and more job creation. This might be the reason and justification why we should do that. So what I'm proposing here is that we need an evolution of economic theory. We cannot achieve sustainable development with the same economic knowledge we have been learning in your school. We need a new economic thinking and knowledge. I call it new climate economics, new inclusive economics. If we combine both, it will be sustainable economics. Then what is the difference? The difference is we have to internalize cost and benefit of social and ecological cost into our market price. That is the basic difference between conventional economics and the new climate and sustainable economics. So internalizing people and planet into our market system is something very abstract. It is sounds like a theory, and you might think that it might be very difficult to understand. What would that mean in the concrete, the real world situation? That might be your question, might be a question in your mind. I will go back to something like this to show that what I mean by internalization. One of the classical examples of not internalizing or not paying the right price of carbon is a traffic congestion. Even in Tashkent, you have a traffic congestion. All cities in the world, they have a traffic congestion. Why is it happening? One of the main reasons is we are driving our car without paying the price of carbon. You are only paying the production cost of a fossil fuel, gasoline. But you are not paying the price of carbon, which is triggering the climate crisis. Why then traffic congestion is a result of conventional economic theory? Is because we don't calculate the cost of traffic congestion. What is the cost of traffic congestion? The cost of traffic congestion means that we are wasting our gasoline because we are stuck in the traffic. And we are wasting our working hours because we cannot work while we are stuck in the traffic. So if you calculate lost gasoline or wasted gasoline and working hour, in Korea, it is 3.6% of GDP. Huge amount. We are wasting huge amount. Korea is spending 2% of GDP for our national defense. Our national defense budget is the largest defense, budget of our government spending because of our political situation. But traffic congestion is even bigger than our defense budget. I told you our defense budget is only 2%. Traffic congestion is 3.6%. Maybe in Uzbekistan, maybe nobody have calculated how much you are wasting because of traffic congestion. You should calculate it. New climate economics means you have to calculate traffic congestion cost. That is new climate economics. Because we don't calculate it. So we are just keep on wasting it because we don't see it. But new climate economics will calculate it and they will show it to you, how much you are wasting. In Korea, Korean economy is growing these days only 1% or 2%. But in fact, Korean economy never grew. Why? 3.6% is wasted already. So 1% GDP actually cannot be counted as growth. If we internalize 3.6%, Korea economy grew minus 2%, right? But we never calculated it. This is the difference between conventional economics and new climate economics. Now you understand what I mean? By internalizing carbon price into our economic system, right? Then what should we do? We have to invest in our public transportation, right? Public transportation. Then why we are not investing in public transportation is because we don't calculate the cost of traffic congestion. So we don't understand how much we are losing our money. But if we realize it, then we have to invest for it. This is new climate economics. Okay, then. This is a little complicated issue. I will skip this. Main message is, if we internalize carbon price into our economic growth, then our economic growth will be even higher. I mentioned this earlier, but is it true? You might wonder, if we pursue new climate economics, then will it be true that economic growth will be even higher, could be higher? This is some of the information I've collected. This is an information about new climate economics. Global Commission on Economy and Climate was founded. They are publishing a new report about new climate economy to prove that if we internalize carbon price, then we can even have a higher economic growth. Then what kind of work has to be done? Yeah. A lot of work has to be done. And in fact, this week, on Friday, I am going to sign a memorandum with the South Kazakhstan University in Shymkent to open a new climate economic center to study on new climate economics theory. My last point. My last point on, in moving towards new climate economics, who should be the most responsible actor? Should it be government? Should it be business? Or should it be consumer? In many countries, we are believing that climate change is an issue for government and the business. And we all think that somebody else will solve the problem. And I'm just a bystander, and I'm just an observer. I have anything to do about it. This is a feeling of all of us. But in fact, as a consumer, we have a very crucial role to play. Actually, unless the consumers are willing to accept the responsibility, it is very difficult for government and business to push for new climate economics. So the consumer's role will be very critical. Here, then what kind of actions can you take? I'm proposing that this is an information I have already explained. Let me skip another one. This is a very interesting survey we did in Korea. We surveyed the public opinion. Are you willing to pay for a higher price for electricity to make a contribution for climate change? The 48% people say yes, 45% people say no. And my proposal is that we cannot wait. So we have to start the action with the 48% of the people. So we have to start a new campaign for voluntary carbon pay campaign for those 48 people who are willing to pay for it. So I named it as a personally determined contribution compared to nationally determined contribution of a Paris Climate Agreement. So my conclusion is all of us here have to think about what you can contribute to yourself. You are not the bystander. You have to share the responsibility, and you have to initiate how you can make a contribution in the actions for climate change. This is some of the most important actions we have to take now. I have some suggestions and ideas for it, but maybe I will open the question and answer, and maybe it might be better that because I have spoken already 20 minutes, and it will be better to open the floor for question. So if there's any question, then I will be happy to. Yeah. Microphone, please.
Hello.
Yeah.
My question is, if we think about economy, we cannot improve ecology. And when think about ecology, we cannot grow economy. What do you think when we find a way satisfies the both parties?
Yeah, actually that is the big question, whether can we grow our economy while we can also maintain, protect our environment, right? That is why I propose the green growth, green economic growth, so that economy and the environment can go hand in hand together. It does not have to be zero-sum game. It can be win-win synergy. That's the idea of how can you promote green growth idea. I can suggest you, I published a report, I proposed the green growth idea 2005, and I have been pushing this new paradigm, and I published a report, Low Carbon Green Growth Roadmap. Low Carbon Green Growth Roadmap. Please Google it. You can find the report. This report is about how we can grow our economy and protect our environment at the same time. So this is, but there are blueprint, but we have to translate blueprint into reality, right? Translating blueprint into reality is very difficult challenge. It is not easy. It needs all of you to be a player and supporter. We have to change our mindset. We have to change our economic system. We have to change our technology. There are technological innovation necessary, policy innovation necessary, social innovation is necessary. So all these things has to be put in together to promote a new paradigm. But I don't have time to explain all of this. But new climate economics is about how to grow our economy while we protect our climate crisis. That is the idea of new climate economics. So what I'm saying is the new climate economics is not finished yet. It's not finished product. We have to work together to build new climate economics together. It is not a finished product. You all have to contribute, work together, come up with the new ideas, and we have to build it together. Thank you. Any question? Yeah.
Maybe we improve green economy all countries in the world.
Pardon?
Maybe we can improve green economy all countries in the world.
I cannot understand. What do you mean by that?
O'zbekchaga aytaman, biz butun dunyo bo'ylab hamma mamlakatlarda yashil energiyani rivojlantirishga o'sha insoniyatning kuchi yetadimi butun dunyo bo'ylab?
Is it possible for the whole world society to develop green energy?
Yes.
Green energy?
Yes, about the whole world society, she's asking.
Yeah, that's a big question.
Can we join in this way, she means? Can we join together in this way? And what should we do for this?
Of course, green energy is a big issue. It has to be, we all have to work together. And many countries are pushing for it. And recently, there is a very positive sign. And I am proposing that Uzbekistan can be a very important player in generating a lot of solar and wind energy. And maybe Uzbekistan can even export it to Europe and Korea. I call it Silk Road Supergrid. So there are many ideas for it, but I don't have enough time to explain about it here now. Yeah, that's possible.
Professor Wong, as you said before, that there are two parts of sustainable development, sustainable economy, the purple growth and the green growth you are working on. And the point is that you told there are many ways for improving them and using this energy, and the education between them, the link between, like if we could promote this idea to our like high schoolers, or maybe even elementary school, why not? This could rise a huge population of consumers who are aware of how sustainable development is working. What steps could we make now, I mean nowadays, in terms of the promotion of those ideas?
Okay. Actually, I didn't have time to explain about what I mean by PDC, personally determined contribution. I am proposing we can come up with a differentiated price system. For example, for electricity, we can have two price. One price, regular price. Another price, climate price. So some people willing to pay, they can pay higher price for electricity. And the regular people who are not interested in climate change, they just pay regular price. So we need to have to differentiate prices so that 48% can pay higher price, 45% pay regular price. So we need to have this kind of differentiated system. I think this is something we have to work together. Yeah.
So in terms of the meritocracy, like the ones who have more opportunities and the will, they will obviously have a chance to complete their payment.
Yeah. That kind of system is necessary. Yeah. Okay.
Thank you.
Good afternoon, dear sales. I can hear it's Connor.
Okay.
Thank you for all information about offsprings and students. I have some questions for you. How do traffic jams affect people's lives in Korea? It isn't not the same in Uzbekistan.
What did he say? Life. Is your question about the traffic congestion?
Yes, of course.
I think that many developing countries, including even Korea, we need to improve and invest a lot more for public transportation. Cities like Tokyo and Osaka, nobody driving private car to go to office. Everybody using public transportation. But you need a lot of investment for public transportation. But many countries think that public transportation is not profitable. That's why they don't invest. But according to my idea of new climate economics, they should be very profitable. Because if we calculate the lost money, then it is a lot of profit, not loss, deficit. So this is the way we have to change accounting our profitability. So we have to change our investment schemes and the standard so that a lot more has to be invested in public transportation. By doing that, we socially, as a country, we can gain a lot more, not losing. So this is something of what I'm arguing, but it's very difficult to persuade the general public. Yeah.
Thank you very much, all the information.
Thank you.
The last question, please.
Microphone.
Oh, great. Sorry.
Good afternoon. Thank you for your very informational presentation. Recently, my city, Tashkent, was the #1 air polluted city in the world ranking.
Can you microphone close to your mouth?
Recently, Tashkent was announced as the #1 air polluted city in the world ranking. It was really hard breathing for several days. It means it's time to take some urgent measurements. I have one question. As you mentioned before, doubling electricity price in next decade or introducing carbon taxes for emerging economies or the government with a poor economy might be difficult. For example, for Uzbekistan, it's very difficult. What's the simple actions that we can do, me, you, and everybody else in this room, that can help our nature and save our planet for our next generation? Thank you for your answer.
Okay, thank you very much for the question. But my answer is, there's no simple solution. The solutions are always very complex and very difficult. And you need change of action, lifestyle by the people, and also policy change by the government as well. So you are looking for something quick and very simple. Actually, there's something quick and simple. We have to invest for public transportation, and the people has to, because I know that there is why people are driving private car. Because it's very simple. There's no public transportation. That's why people are driving. This is why government has to invest a lot for public transportation. But unfortunately, public transportation is not, according to the current economic theory, not very profitable. So they are not investing a lot, right? This is why I'm proposing new climate economics. In fact, public transportation is very profitable for our ecology, for our air quality, but people don't look at it. So new climate economics means we can calculate it and show it to the people, like a 3.6% of GDP in Korea. This is the kind of number new climate economics has to show to the people. And then people will accept, and government will accept, then they will change the investment portfolio, and then they will invest more for public transportation. So this is why I am pushing this kind of a new approach. It's not simple, but there's no simple solution, because the problem is very complex, and the solution has to be very complex as well, and very fundamental. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much for your interesting presentation and your answers to the questions of our participants. Ladies and gentlemen, distinguished guests, we have come to the end of the first day of the 5th Nobel Fest, and let me once again thank all the participants, organizers, and the speakers of the event. And we all have to think about after topics revealed by the prominent speakers, and we would like to thank all our honorable guests and wish them safe and pleasant flight to their countries, and hope to see them again in Uzbekistan. So you can listen to all speakers of Nobel Fest online on YouTube channel, on the official website of Nobel Fest. So by this, let me close the opening ceremony of the 5th Nobel Fest. And once again, thank you for being with us today. Thank you for joining us on this important and significant event. Thank you very much for your attention.